Hello everyone, I'm Ahmad Tokey. I'm a master's student at the University of Toledo. I'm doing my master's in geography and planning. Today I'm going to present my poster in the ELDAAG meeting, and the title of my poster is the spatio-temporal dynamics of mobility pattern during COVID-19 in the USA and its associations with COVID cases. So in this poster, I have designed several sections. As you can see, the introduction, the objective and data, the methodology, and finally the results and the findings. So let's go to each sections. In the introduction, I basically tried to convey the message that how the COVID-19 disrupted our travel pattern, transportation modes, transportation users, and so on. So it's very important to learn the spatio-temporal dynamics of this mobility pattern throughout the whole time of this pandemic. So this is the core of this poster. So the main objective of this study is twofold. One is to explore the spatial and temporal pattern of the work trip rate and the miles traveled by per person and percentage of out of country trips throughout the whole period of pandemic. I divided the whole period of pandemic into four parts that will be discussed in the methodology section. And finally, the second objective is to identify the associations of these mobility indicators. To mention these work trip rate, miles per person, and percentage of out of country trips, and with COVID cases in the different phases of the coronavirus. So I collected the data from Maryland Transportation Institute. This is data particularly we have the daily records of all the counties of the USA. So yeah, the description of the variables and how they collected the data can be available in the in their website. I put the reference in the bottom part of this poster. So to design the work, I basically divided the time period into four parts. As you can see, there is a clear distinction or clear two humps or waves from the beginning of March to the end of the August. So I divided each waves into two, like the rise of wave one, the fall of wave one, again the rise of wave two, and the fall of wave two. So all the analyses are carried out for these each four stages. So for the first objective, which was on to explore the spatial temporal pattern, I used the space-time cube tool to generate the emerging hotspots. What it basically does is to visualize the entire time and space into a three-dimension like this, where the x and y are spaces and what z are the time, and according to the associations and different trends, it calculates a two-dimensional output that clearly shows different hotspots and different cold spots. So and regarding the second objective, which is to find or examine the associations, I basically use the geographically weighted regression, and the results are also in the finding part. So excuse me. When if I see the first findings, now here the maps are wave one the rise and wave one fall, and again wave two rise and wave two fall for each of these three indicators that are work trip per person, miles per person, and percentage of out-of-country trips. So here are lots of hot spots and cold spots you can see. So those who do not have much idea about these hotspots, is very much necessary and useful to first visit the legends to perceive the maps. So there are lots of legends. I don't want to confuse you. Just there are clear distinction. These eight red legends are hotspots, and eight bluish legends are cold spots. The hotspots basically say that the um, at that point the values or the attributes are associated with the high values, high nearby values. And similarly, the cold spot denotes that a value of a spatial extent or entity is um, surrounded by the low values, as well as that is also the low value. So in that's a very common understanding in traditional hotspot analysis. But here the hotspots are divided in each hotspots are divided into eight first. I'd like to introduce also about two or three unique kind of legends that will be helpful to understand these maps, which are persistent hotspots, the red dark hotspots, the persistent cold spots, the red blue legends, and similarly the intensifying cold spots, intensifying hotspots. So let's come to our map. What our map says that when the wave one is about to rise, then the work cheaper person in USA, we can see that most of the part, particularly the western part, are all of them are cold spot. That denotes that people didn't do much more work trip in that time. When the cases started to fall, we can see that the um, the peripheral part, like the southern, eastern, and western parts, are still having the cold spots, while the middle part of USA started to increase their work trip rate. And the case is much more interesting in the subsequent years. Like when the second wave started to hit the USA, all these spurs which previously showed different weak cold spot, most of them started to show the persistent cold spot. That means the work trip rate reduced sharply there. However, we can see the the rise of the work trip rates in the middle part of the USA, that is way greater than what we saw in the second tier. And when coronavirus started to fall again, then we can see the hotspot started to diminish, and the persistent hotspot started to get intensifying hotspot. The miles per person rate is also interesting. From the when the in the rise of wave one, we see the oscillating cold spot, and the fall of wave one, we see the oscillating hard spots. These are very intuitive and very expected. However, we can see that when the wave two started to rise, then the amount of hotspots started to become cold spots, except the middle bird, and the middle bird again showed a high uh, high mile per person traveling when the wave two started to fall. Um, and about the percentage of out of country trips, that's also intuitive that when in the first tier, we see that people did not make much more out of country trips. Um, and when it started to fall, then people started to make the out of country trips. You can see lots of hotspots in the middle and the eastern side. However, when the wave two started, then we saw that most of the hotspots were gone. except the middle part, and in the western part started to show the cold spots. That means they didn't make much more out of country trips, and the trip continued. The train continued almost similarly in the fall of the wave 2. So this is the basic findings of the spatiotemporal. I'll quickly go to the finding of the GWR burden. So these are the coefficients. This is coefficient for the work trip per person. The box plots are also very much informative. It says that this is for the first tier, this is for the second tier, third tier, and so on. It says that except the first one, all the third tier, in all the third tier, the work trip rate was positively affecting. That means the more the work trip rate, the more the coronavirus, and these associations were in the last 3 tier. You can see a consistent pattern over the USA. That is, the blue is the highest quartile, the pink is the third quartile, and the orange is the second, and so on. So we see the eastern part always showed the higher associations, higher positive associations with virus. And regarding the miles per person rate, the trend is also positive in only in the second tier, but the other tier do not give much more intuition. We can see the last 2 tier, it shows the negative association. It means the more miles per person, the less coronavirus, or yeah, something like that. And these associations, the red and the orange are the highest. So these associations are more again in the eastern part. The out of country trips, excuse me, the out of country trips are also interesting. It shows that most of them in the last 3 tier especially are negative. That means with more coronavirus cases, people didn't make much more out of country trips. That's this finding is very much intuitive, and the geographical distributions are here. These are the control variables of my models. So these all of them carry the intuitive findings, like the hotspots, the less the more the hotspots, the less the coronavirus, or the more the population density, the coronavirus is positive. But these relations are somewhat weak, and in terms of the magnitude of the coefficients and also the significance. The last interesting findings I want to show that the standard deviation, social distancing index, that is, the higher the social distancing, that means the higher maintenance of I mean the index value, the higher practice of the social distance. So while this value didn't make much more sense in the first tier, that means their effect on coronavirus is might be significant, but that is not the magnitude is not that much in compared to the magnitude of it in the final tier. The final tier says that even though people practiced social distance, coronavirus still went down. So the social distancing practice didn't work much in the last tier. So these findings are this study carries importance in terms of in terms of the implications, and the findings about the